breaking news. Sad news. Jerry West, who was selected to the Basketball Hall of Fame 3 times in a storied career as a player and executive, and whose silhouette is considered to be the basis of the NBA logo, passed away this morning. The Clippers announced he was 86. Let's start there with Arash Madani, and then the day began with the trade of Cavan Biggio by the Jays, and that's old news now. Howdy, Arash. This passing of Jerry West really seems to, can I say, have affected you, moved you? Your thoughts on this legacy day?
Well, I mean, Rod, we're talking about the greatest general manager in the history of professional sports. Period. Full stop. Unarguable. I mean, how many architects begin a dynasty in the 80s of 5 championships with the Lakers and then follow that up in the 2000s with the Shaq-Kobe era and win 5 more? 3 with Shaq and Kobe and then 2 with Kobe and Pau. But I think what's so interesting about West is that amidst all this success, guy who, put up 30 points a night before the 3-point line, he was a tormented soul. And he just could not find happiness. And long before it was on Vogue to talk about your mental health, Jerry West did. Even when he grew up, in coal mining town in West Virginia, where nobody talked about their feelings and nobody talked about these kinds of things, Jerry West would. So, like from a legacy standpoint, from a basketball standpoint, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. From an executive architect standpoint, the best ever. And his absence leaves a void, not just in the basketball world, but in the professional sports world.
Well, now, you're a Lakers fan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I grew up,
obviously we all watch
fan of the Showtime Lakers.
Of course. So we all watch Winning Time. Do you feel that was an accurate portrayal of Jerry West? Because from what I understand, his family said it wasn't.
No, I wasn't there. None of us were. Look, Winning Time, if you removed the names of the people involved and the colors of the jerseys, the entire thing was a wonderfully entertaining soap opera. But I don't think it had anything to do with real life. You think about like icons in sports. I mean, he's the only athlete to be the logo of their professional sports league, the biggest professional sports league on earth, maybe outside of the Premiership. I just, like, when you think about it through that lens and that stature, it's pretty amazing.
Do you think he'll always be? I saw some jabroni suggest today that they should change the logo, and I hope they don't. You never know what they're going to do. But do you think he'll always be the silhouette of Jerry West for the NBA?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, Roddy. The interesting part is West wasn't a fan of it. He didn't like that it was the silhouette of him, in his living days. And it's so interesting, the world we now live in, that's me, I, brand. Jerry West was about us and we and winning. Like, part of the torment was that he only won 1 championship as a player. And even when he won it, he just couldn't get joy out of it because he was thinking about all the other times that they lost to the Celtics, the damn Celtics and Bill Russell and all those guys. And the satisfaction he got in 1985 when we went into the Boston Garden and won on the parquet floor. And, even in the twilight of his life, he had no real interest in going back to the Garden, going back to Boston, because of what it did. We live in a world of hot takes and GOAT conversations, which is fine, I guess, but nobody brings up the Bill Russells and the Jerry Wests and the Elgin Baylors and the people of the black and white and early color television era, because there's an ignorance that goes. Like, the league did not begin with Michael Jordan. And so I remember when Jerry West was a GM, he'd talk about Kareem being the greatest basketball player of all time. And until, a year or two ago, he was the all-time scoring leader, and yet nobody talks about Kareem as one of the greats ever. just like nobody talks about Jerry West as one of the greats ever.
I'm loving this. It's almost like you're reading off a teleprompter, but you're not. That speaks to you, sir. And I know that you're really enjoying the NBA Finals. And I got to tell you, one of my closest friends down South Florida, Johnny O from Johnny O's Gym, the biggest Celtics fan. I mean, it was one thing for the Bruins to face the Panthers, but people don't understand in Canada, the NBA is a big deal now. So how much are you enjoying just covering this file, being there, let alone interviewing the legends? I'm watching it all, bro. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it, Roddy. I appreciate it. I have to tell you, as somebody who, again, grew up, I'm 43 years old. I grew up worshiping Magic and Kareem and the Showtime Lakers. Like when I was 8 years old, I was living and dying with these guys. And I have to tell you, when we walked into the Garden and walked onto the parquet floor for Media Day, the 8-year-old Arash kind of came out, and I almost had to contain him, because I'm like, there are those screws in the dead spots, on that wood floor. There's that banner that they stole from us. My disdain for Kevin McHale, my downright fear for Larry Bird came out. It's been awesome. The Celtics are the far superior team. Now they lose Porzingis, I think, for a couple of games at least anyway, moving forward. But, Rod, they came close in 2022, and nobody's giving Jason Tatum his due as one of the best players in the world, and he absolutely is. Even in the first half of Game 2, he couldn't buy a bucket, but he had 8 assists. The entire engine of that Celtics offense revolved around him. They have so much talent all over the place. And they're probably going to lift an 18th banner. And the 8-year-old Arash is not going to be pleased to see it.
I'm glad that he's still around. And I have those moments regularly too, right? And what I do, that's awesome, man. We can't let you get away without a take on Cavan Biggio being dealt. Sounds like, with talking with producer Clark, this was like a formality or not a footnote on his career, because maybe he'll get things together in L.A., but this was inevitable. How about that?
Yeah, inevitable is the right way of putting it. You think back to this Blue Jays rebuild and the birth of it, and it was almost like they were triplets, Vlad and Bo and Cavan. Son of a Hall of Famer, son of a star, and son of another Hall of Famer. And they came up together, and they won championships together in the minor leagues. And Bo and Cavan and Vlad were going to be part of this rebuild and renaissance, and speaking of banners, bringing a banner to Toronto. And, Vlad's been on this ascension, and Bo's been on this ascension, and Cavan has been a grinder. Cavan has been the guy who's played literally every position on the field, done everything they asked of him. It's just the bat wasn't there. The production wasn't there. But Roddy, and I posted this on my social media today, when you get designated for assignment like Biggio did last week, he was either going to get outright released with pay or traded. And he's going to the Dodgers. It's a great opportunity with a great team. Hopefully he'll get some playing time. He was reconnected with Teoscar Hernandez. But Biggio was a player rep with the Major League Players Association, was involved in CBA discussions. He went to school at Notre Dame, actually went to class. A thoughtful, intelligent dude who really wanted to win in Toronto, who really appreciated being a Blue Jay, who understood, having grown up in the game, just how special it was. It was Biggio who would go on the winter tour across the country, showing up to Alberta, going to the prairies, being involved in January and February. When his playing career is done, I can see him doing anything. The world's his oyster. He could be involved with the union. He could be a broadcaster. He could work in the commissioner's office. He could work for an apparel company. But more than anything else, he's a professional. And he was an influential piece in that Blue Jay locker room, in that clubhouse. And they're going to miss his voice, and they're going to miss kind of his work ethic and all those kinds of things. But in a production business, this is what happens.
Good stuff. I always enjoy talking to you. Enjoy the rest of the finals, and we'll chat down the road soon, Arash.